today's conference. At that time, you may press star 1 to ask a question. Please unmute your phones and state your name and company when instructed. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. It is now my pleasure to turn the call over to Mr. Matt Camlett. Sir, you may begin.
Good afternoon. I'm Matt Camlett with NASA's Office of Communication. Thank you for joining us today as we learn more about the second flight of NASA's quiet supersonic X-59 aircraft. I'd like to introduce our panelists who will be delivering opening remarks. Today we have with us NASA Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate Associate Administrator Bob Pierce, Project Manager for the Low Boom Flight Demonstrator Project, Cathy Bahm, Jim Clue-Less, the NASA test pilot who flew the X-59 today. We also have some additional experts in the room who will be available when we take questions from the media, including Mission Integration Manager for NASA's Quests mission, Peter Coen, Nils Larson, the NASA test pilot who made the X-59's first flight and provided support in a chase plane today, Lockheed Martin X-59 Project Manager Pat LeBeau, NASA Deputy Operations Lead Brian Griffin, Lockheed Martin Flight Test Lead Caitlin Fahey. Now I'll ask Associate Administrator Pierce to help us start today's call with his remarks.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everybody today. Since the beginning, NASA has pushed the boundaries of aeronautics and flight, keeping the U.S. at the leading edge of aircraft and aviation innovation. X-59, which is why we're here today, is the centerpiece of our Quests mission as we continue the legacy and work to make quiet commercial supersonic flight over land a reality. Today we made our second flight with the X-59. The duration was not what we planned. It was not the hour we planned, and after a few minutes, our pilot and our team made the call to land due to a warning light. It was the right decision. They followed the emergency procedures, returned to base, and landed safely. Look, every test flight is a step towards proving its airworthiness, and that's the goal right now, is to get the X-59 airworthiness proved out so we can start the Quests mission. We want to collect all the data we can and evaluate the system, so today, flying for 9 minutes provided 9 minutes more data than we had yesterday. What we're doing, as only we can, as only NASA can, is unprecedented. We've never had an aircraft like the X-59 designed to fly faster than the speed of sound without the loud sonic boom. And look, flying a full-scale piloted experimental aircraft means you got a full plate. You've got an aircraft that has a great number of systems that need to work together, and you test those systems in an integrated way to uncover challenges, issues, and so forth, and you work through those. And that's how we do that. We let the flights unfold. We approach this experimental flight cautiously. So while we're pursuing a revolutionary aviation research like this to enable supersonic flight over land without making the loud sonic boom, we got to do it in a way that's safe and that ensures mission success, and that's what you saw today. Sometimes it's easy to forget that building this kind of experimental aircraft means creating something that never existed before. Right? We are at the very beginning of flight testing, and we expect that we're going to find things that we're going to have to work through. As far as X-planes go, it's not unusual, and we'll keep moving X-59 forward deliberately and safely. Today was a step forward. It marks an ambitious year of testing for the X-59. In short order, you're going to see this plane flying more frequently as we expand the flight envelope, taking it faster and higher, getting closer to where we need to be for the actual mission success. Following NASA's commitment to increasing our cadence of testing, we'll push to reach acoustic validation, where we'll measure the X-59 sonic thump as quickly as possible. Just like today, we'll approach those benchmarks boldly but deliberately, making sure we're taking all the right steps towards safe success. And like today, with all of the more than 100 flight tests we have planned, we'll be learning every step. I believe in this team. It's the right team. It's a great team, and we know we're going to achieve our mission goals and deliver this value to industry and the public. So thank you so much, and I'll turn it back over to the team there.
Thanks so much, Bob. And that was Associate Administrator Bob Pierce, P-E-A-R-C-E. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Cathy Bahm, B-A-H-M. Cathy is the project manager for NASA's Low Boom Flight Demonstrator Project.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon. Just before 10 a.m. this morning, we attempted our first flight for the Flight 2, and at about 65 knots, we had a caution for a vehicle system. We reset that system, and we were good to reattempt for flight. The X-59 took off at 10:54 a.m. Pacific time and landed at 11:03 a.m. Our test pilot and the aircraft landed safely after there was a vehicle system warning in the cockpit. The warning asserted shortly after takeoff. We followed our emergency procedures and returned to base safely. We are early in the flight test. Findings are normal. Our team made the right call today, and our test pilot landed safely. The aircraft is currently back in the hangar, and the team is already starting to evaluate the issue and determine the path forward. We're looking forward to getting back to flight as soon as possible. We got to Flight 2 today through the dedicated work of the entire NASA and Lockheed Martin X-59 team. Despite the early landing, this was a good day for the team. We gathered more data, and it was Jim Less's first flight of the X-59. This is another step in the envelope expansion of X-59. The envelope expansion phase will systematically increase the speed and altitude to prepare for future phases of the Quest mission.
Thank you very much. I will introduce our next speaker, Test Pilot Jim Less, L-E-S-S. Jim?
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, I certainly hope to have more to talk about than 9 minutes of flight, but the plane performed great. The takeoff roll and liftoff was uneventful, and we were climbing out, getting ready to set up for the first test point when we got the warning, which required an immediate return to base. And although I had not intended to have to land quite as urgently for my first landing, the plane performed beautifully. The control room team backed me up. They were all working just great, firing on all cylinders, and we got the plane back about 9 minutes after takeoff. And landing was uneventful, rollout and stopping was all as we expected. As we like to say, it was just like the simulator. That's what we want to hear. So this was just the beginning of a long flight test campaign. As you've heard, we got data we didn't have before, and there's a lot of flights to come to gather a lot more data.
Great. Thank you very much, Clue. And to the rest of our speakers, appreciate your time. At this time, we will open it up to take questions. So, operator, we are ready for questions.
Thank you, sir. At this time, if you would like to ask a question, you may press *1. Please unmute your phones and state your first and last name when prompted. Again, that is *1 to ask a question and *2 to withdraw your question. Our first caller is Russell Pounds with Pacific Rim Media. Your line is open, sir.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking the call. I'm calling from Anchorage, Alaska today, and I'm not sure if this is a pilot or a project manager question that might have the best insight, but the question is this. Along the way in this testing process, have you brought to light any surprising or useful spin-off concepts that the public might appreciate or consider a gee whiz benefit?
Yeah, I'll take that. Cathy Bahm, project manager. One of the really exciting developments for X-59 is the external vision system that was developed by NASA Langley. The X-59 doesn't have a forward window like you would see on normal aircraft, and the external vision system uses a camera above the nose and then a forward vision system camera that comes down lower for takeoff and landing. And it combines those two to give the pilot situational awareness looking forward, kind of simulates that forward view. Clue, you can say what it looks like.
Yeah, so it's actually a very good high-def color image, and it's almost like looking through a window in front of the airplane. And I was able to fly the plane just like I fly other aircraft and had no issues rapidly getting back to the base and landing. The first landing was as uneventful as all our practice landings in the simulator, and expect to continue forward with no problems.
And the external vision system could be used for other aircraft in the future, remotely piloted aircraft and that sort of thing as well. Has a lot of very valuable information that you guys use during the flight, in addition to just the video. Provides a lot of situational awareness as well. So really something that could be leveraged for the future.
That's great, Cathy. Was that a safety issue to put the cameras in versus having a windshield?
This is Clue. The shape of the aircraft doesn't allow for a normal transparent windscreen. We'd be looking through the long nose of the aircraft. So the only real way to see forward is through a camera.
And the shape is all to support that quiet supersonic thump that we'll hear on the ground. And that was what limited the shape. Right.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Carrie Lynch with Aviation International News. Your line is open.
Hello, thank you for taking my question. Could you detail a little bit about the caution light? Was it the same as the one you had reset earlier? Is it something that is going to take a lot of study? You said you're going to try and get back up, sooner than later, and obviously you probably can't say when, but could you talk a little bit about that process of working through it?
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed to say during my, Cathy Bahm again. In my comments, I meant to mention that it was the caution during the first attempt was unrelated to the warning that we saw in flight. Two entirely separate systems. We're really too early in the process to say how long it's going to take. The maintenance team is already trying to start looking into and investigate the issue, but it's too early to say when we will get back to flight, but we will be as efficient and effective as we possibly can to get there.
Can you specify a little more about what the caution involved?
It was one of the vehicle systems. We have different levels of caution warning lights. The caution is a little bit less severe than the warning, and so this system had a warning assert during the flight, and now we need to go find out exactly what caused that.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Paul Brinkman with Aerospace America. Your line is open.
Thank you. So with a warning issue like this, how does that affect I understand that you don't know how long it will take to find out what the problem was. You can't tell us what the problem is right now, but is the understanding that you would just, once you find out what it is and fix it, that you would just reset completely to the flight plan that you had to do a series of 10 flights going forward? Or will there be an initial flight to make sure that the system checks out? How will that be affected?
Well, I think it depends.
Depends on
what we find. Last week we did a regression test with the engine run to ensure that all the systems were working. It will depend what we find, whether we need to do a regression test before we do flight tests, go back straight into flight tests, and what we would need to repeat prior to proceeding forward.
Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Jim McKenna with Aviation Maintenance Magazine. Your line is open.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Two related questions. Do you have any sense yet on the validity of the indications, or was it instrumentation or an actual condition needed to be handled? And also, have you seen either of these caution or warning indications before?
Yeah. Hi, this is Caitlin Fahey, the Lockheed Martin flight test lead. To your first question, again, time will tell as we do the investigation if it was an instrumentation issue or a vehicle systems issue. For the moment, in the air, real time, we treated it as real. We treated it as a real subsystems event just for safety's sake, and got the aircraft back on the ground as quickly as possible, again, just for safety's sake. But once we investigate, then we'll be able to separate out if it was an instrumentation issue or a true vehicle systems issue. As in terms of, have we seen this particular or either of these particular faults before? Not in the aircraft, but we've done extensive testing and training in our SIL and in our sim that helped us prepare for these scenarios and help us react accordingly. We'll be matching the data that we get from the jet from this test to those recorded sims and SIL events and sort from there.
Thanks.
As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1. We do have another question from Carrie Lynch with Aviation International News. Your line is open.
So you talked about, and thank you for hearing me again, you talked about gathering 9 minutes of data. What did you learn in that 9 minutes? Was it surrounding primarily how it handles on takeoff and landing, or what were some of the initial things you got to experience firsthand?
Well, it started off with a pretty good, maybe not high-speed taxi, but a mid-speed taxi and braking the first part of the morning. And then we got more data, as you said, for kind of the performance control law team and more heavy weight landing and braking. And, this is our Brian Griffin, our deputy ops lead, reminds me that this is our first flight with strain gauges that help our loads team look at their data, and that will give them their first insight into some of that performance on the load side of the house.
From a pilot perspective, this is my first opportunity to evaluate some of the systems in flight, particularly the external vision system that Cathy was talking about before, and seeing just how well that worked. And for landing, it was our first heavyweight landing. So we now have one lightweight and one heavyweight landing, and we'll start filling in the gaps between in future flights.
So this is a flight that you can build on. You can take that 9 minutes of experience and build on it for your next flight. You don't have to necessarily recreate everything exactly as it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, depending on what we find out, we intend very quickly to get back out and fly the cards that we were supposed to fly today.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Russell Pounds with Pacific Rim Media. Your line is open.
Yeah, thanks for taking the follow-up. I was looking at some of the mission profiles on the science around the flight and the project, and the computational fluid dynamics looked very interesting. I didn't know how unique those sorts of things are to this kind of test flight versus what other aircraft go through. And then, in addition, are there some other science goals beyond that, what's listed that might be interesting to folks?
Hi, Peter Coen, Quests Mission Integration Manager. Thanks for the question. The X-59 is a very unique airplane. It was designed almost for the low boom, for the quiet supersonic signature. That design was done almost exclusively using computational fluid dynamics. We learned a lot about how to use those tools in the design process, and we learned a lot to improve the efficiency and the accuracy of those tools. We're looking forward to phase 2, when we can actually get the data that kind of matches up with the analysis that we've done, and show that that we're getting the quiet signature that we expected, and B, that the tools worked as we expected them to. The ultimate goal really is to provide those tools to industry, so that they can use them in the creation of future products that can fly at supersonic speeds without creating a sonic boom.
Thanks, Peter. Is that tool out there for industry at a different level at this point?
During the process of the design of the X-59, we've had a number of kind of outreach events at conferences where we invited industry to take our models, use their tools, and see how to judge how they perform versus the state of the art. And of course, we're within NASA. We're always publishing and making our codes available for use by industry. So some of those codes are already out there.
And, this is Clue. I'll give one example. You mentioned the computational fluid dynamics. If you look at a picture of our aircraft, you'll notice that the inlet is on top, which is fairly unique for most aircraft. And that was one area where we've done a lot of wind tunnel testing and computational fluid dynamics to predict the airflow into that inlet. One of the things that we were hoping to explore today was how well those predictions matched up and make sure that at different angles of attack, the engine was still getting good airflow. So that's a computational fluid dynamics to wind tunnel to actual flight test tie, and that's one of the areas of exploration at the beginning of our flight test program.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Mike Wall with Space.com. Your line is open.
Thank you for doing this. Just a quick question: what was the desired the sort of desired flight profile today? How high up did you guys aim to go? How fast did you aim to fly, and for how long? And could you just compare that to what you experienced today? I mean, I know it was 9 minutes, but could you just give us some details about the altitude and the speed and so on? Thank you.
Okay, this is Clue, the pilot again. We were starting off at 12,000 feet, 200 knots, which was done on the first flight. We were going to accelerate up to 225 knots and then climb up to 20,000 feet. That was the extent of the envelope expansion for today, cleaning up some lower speed points on the way back. Got to about 12,000 feet and 200 knots, and that's when we had the warning and had to come back. So we didn't get any higher or faster than the first flight, but next flight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Amelia Giles with Veritasium. Your line is open.
Hi. Thanks for doing this. Mine's a more general question just for Mr. Less about the experience of flying the plane, specifically using the external vision system. How does it compare to a traditional cockpit?
So we've been training for literally years, hundreds of hours in our simulator, using this system in the simulator. So it really felt comfortable, even though I wasn't seeing out the front. I could see out the sides and match that up with what I'm seeing out the front. But the vision system in some cases is almost better than the naked eye. If we're facing into the sun, if there's glare, the image processing can cut down some of that glare and actually improve the contrast. So I was able to see where I was going and see the runway just fine.
And the inlet being on top, does that affect how the plane flies?
Not noticeably. The thrust is pretty much along the center line, so thrust changes don't change the pitch attitude. So as a pilot, yeah, I wouldn't know. Can't see the inlet back there, but if I didn't know it was on top, I don't think I would be able to feel that from the way the plane flies.
Thank you. As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1. Our next question comes from Jim McKenna with Aviation Maintenance Magazine. Your line is open.
Thanks again. Media attention of X-59 has been focused almost exclusively on the research and design that's gone into it. Who maintains the aircraft? And I mean, how many maintainers do you have? Is it a mix of NASA and Lockheed Martin folks? And a subset of that, how many people are on the maintenance investigation team, and where do they come from? Thanks.
Again, Caitlin Fahey, Lockheed Martin flight test lead. Yeah, we have a very integrated team. We've had a very integrated team for years now. The maintenance team specifically is a joint NASA Lockheed Martin team. Roughly speaking, off the top of my head, it's about 25 folks comprising of that team, day and night shift currently. In terms of any investigation that we're doing, I have to stress that this is just normal ops right now. It's just the same as any investigation we would do after any anomaly after a flight. So that's a joint team as well, not just NASA and Lockheed Martin, but also the maintainers and engineering. It's very key that we get support from both those organizations as we look into these faults going forward.
Great, thanks.
Welcome.
This time, I'm showing no further questions.
Okay. I'd like to thank our speakers as well as our participants. This concludes the questions for the day. For updates on X-59's progress, visit us on nasa.gov. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you for your participation. Participants, you may disconnect at this time.